Hey guys, welcome to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and today we're going to be watching the 1967 film Belle de Jour. This is directed by Luis Bunuel, which I had no idea about. The movie stars Catherine Deneuve, Jean Sorel, and Michel Piccoli. It's based off of the 1928 novel by Joseph Kessler. It details the story of a young woman who moonlights as a sex worker during the week while her husband is at work. I guess I'm informally doing a short series on the works of Catherine Deneuve. We previously checked out Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which was great. Check that one out, definitely. I don't know anything about Belle de Jour, to be perfectly frank, except perhaps that it is. I've heard rumblings that it is one of the more sex-positive works to have been produced in cinema. Perhaps widely consumed cinema. I don't know what's considered widely consumed, but maybe, perhaps, possibly it was considered one of the more sex-positive works of its time, and I'm all about a little bit more sex positivity in my films, to be perfectly honest. Oh, the cinematographer for this is Sacha Virney. We'll check out the cinematography in this too, then, I guess. And, if you like the stuff that is represented on this channel, subscribe to see more stuff like this. Criterion. I promise, I swear to God, we'll watch a movie that isn't on Criterion soon enough. Belle de Jour, apparently a play on words on the term Belle de Nuit, the beauty of the night, which perhaps you may infer the meaning of that.
Veux-tu que je te dise un secret, Séverine? Je t'aime chaque jour davantage.
Moi aussi, Pierre.
Moi aussi.
Mais je voulais pas te fâcher.
À quoi peut-elle me servir ta tendresse?
Oh no. Already some discord.
Arrêtez. Descends.
Oh.
Quoi? Qu'est-ce qui te prend?
Je te dis de descendre.
Mais laisse-moi!
Allez, viens.
Laisse-moi!
Mais comment osez-vous? Lâchez-moi!
Allez-y.
Early predictions. This seems like a fantasy sequence to me.
Fermez-la, madame, ou je vous casse la gueule.
Honestly, the things they could get away with in the 60s, I had no idea. I mean, I guess by, like,
Allez, venez.
when was Blow Up? By Blow Up, it didn't seem so strange. I'm guessing Blow Up was like 68?
Ne crie pas. Et tu...
Pierre, je t'en supplie.
Oh no!
Pierre. De tout mon
Oh no!
Pierre! Pierre, je t'en supplie, ne lâche pas les chats!
Wow, Blow Up was 1966. Wow. Wow.
Ça suffit comme ça. Elle est à vous maintenant.
Pierre, je t'aime!
Allez-y. À quoi penses-tu, Séverine?
Yep, there it is.
À quoi penses-tu?
Oh, nothing. The
Je
end.
pensais à toi. J'ai envie de t'embrasser.
Oh, those beds. Killing me with that.
Je te demande pardon.
For what?
Tu es si bon, si indulgent.
Non.
They're having a difficulty with their sex life. I wonder why.
Je sais pas. Mais on se couche avec les poules.
I know Umbrellas of Cherbourg is set like a decade earlier, but the change in style already is like enormous.
N'y allons pas, elle est avec Husson.
Trop tard, il nous a vus.
Il est riche et oisif. Ce sont ses deux principales maladies.
Yeah,
La chasse à court.
that makes sense.
À part ça, j'ai une faiblesse particulière envers les gens pauvres, enfin les ouvriers. Je pense à eux surtout quand il neige. Je sens que vous êtes séduisante, Séverine.
Tu te souviens d'Henriette? Oui, très bien. Il paraît qu'elle va régulièrement faire des...
Oh, really?
Comment? Bah, tu réalises, c'est vrai. Tu la vois avec n'importe qui. Les vieux, les pas vieux, les moches, les pas moches.
Mais je vous demande bien pardon, mesdames. Et pour exister, ça existe. Je vous le garde.
Thank you, monsieur.
Je pourrais vous en montrer une bonne demi-nouvelle.
Oh,
C'est
really?
le métier qui veut ça, comprenez-vous. On m'a attaqué 2 fois si ça ne vous fait rien. Et je ne m'en porte pas plus mal.
I guess that's a good way to approach life. Not to get overly traumatized
Qu'est-ce que tu as?
by the occasional mugging. I like how he didn't judge them for talking about prurient interests, though.
On a apporté ces fleurs pour madame. Très bien. Qui les a envoyées? Monsieur Husson, madame.
I will never get over how static and stately French households look. It's just this weird dichotomy of French films that they can get so sexy and weird. But, if you look at the domestic life, the households, they're so drab. I'll never get over the feeling of boredom of seeing, like, a French apartment.
Je vais chercher la serpillière.
But maybe that's just the jingoist American in me. Girl, you gotta be more careful. Wasting an entire bottle.
Séverine, viens vite.
Is it a taxi driver? No. I like these kind of I want to see how it develops, but I kind of like these like elliptic sequences attached to the end of scenes, just like shortcuts that like they give a sense of like a incomplete thought.
Je ne t'ai jamais vu comme ça. Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Bonsoir.
Tu veux que je vienne avec toi?
Non, non.
Just gonna go masturbate.
Oui, j'y allais très souvent autrefois, j'aimais beaucoup ça. Un parfum très particulier, des femmes complètement asservies. Je me rappelle dans le quartier de l'Opéra. 11 cités Jean de Saumur. J'en ai gardé d'excellents souvenirs.
They really let you get away with anything in Europe. Not that we don't have our fair share of problems here. I love that getup. I love how frigidly she's presenting. It's also weird. I mean, it's just a plot contrivance, you know, whatever. But all these men are just volunteering very specific information about, like, brothels to this woman. And in some cases, like, she's like, you know, shared company. She's like in their lives. I like how slightly unkempt her hair is. Ooh, that is so pretty. It's really stunning. I just recently watched the Merchant Ivory film The Europeans, and it's also set around autumn. It's really nice to have the point of comparison of the foliage. Catherine, what are you up to? Severine. Okay, so that's her in her childhood. Okay, so she was touched when she was young. She refused the communion when she was young, perhaps out of a feeling of guilt, or perhaps a feeling of divergence. Find your light, girl. Find what makes you happy. Ooh, that's a loud bell. 50, 50, 50.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? J'aurais voulu vous parler. C'est vous qui vous occupez de...
Je suis Madame Anaïs. Asseyez-vous. Je peux vous offrir quelque chose?
Non, merci.
For being a Bunuel film, I'm like surprised by how kind of
Je suis toute prête à vous aider. Asseyez-vous. Asseyez-vous.
banal it is, how naturalistic it is. I'm enjoying it because like
Vous êtes gentil.
it's kind of like the calm before the storm. You're waiting for something, perhaps not like you know, it's not like it's going to be on Chien Andalou, but you're waiting for like the floodgates to break open in some one way or the other.
Quand voudriez-vous commencer?
Je ne sais pas.
Just holding her cigarette so close to her face.
Oui, peut-être. Ce serait seulement l'après-midi. À 5
These
heures.
are the sort of things I'd think about, like how they never do it these days. Just small things of the way human beings related to each other, like physically, that perhaps they don't have the same presentation or the same depiction in cinema these days. That lady's wig makes me want to read up on the culture of women's wigs in the late 60s and early 70s, because I immediately caught a blast of like the fitness lady, the cat lady in oh, beautiful shot of the shoes. Weirdly fetishistic, but of the cat lady in A Clockwork Orange. Beautiful, beautiful shot of the shoes. What a concise way to convey like a moment in a character's like thought process or journey.
Comment vous appelez-vous?
Je ne voudrais pas...
Well, you're gonna need it for your W2.
J'ai une idée. Si vous vous appeliez Belle de Jour,
Belle de Jour.
comme vous ne venez que l'après-midi, vous avez l'air un peu nerveuse.
She's like all up in her space. I'm loving it. It's very intimate.
Embrassez-moi.
I love how closed off and reserved Deneuve's performance is in this first half. It's really building up anticipation in a quite lovely way. Let your hair down, girl. Ooh, explosive. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, l'autre jour à Bruxelles, je suis tombé sur une négresse. Mes enfants, quel rendez-vous!
Je vous présente Belle de Jour.
Tu vas voir. On va être heureux tous les deux, je te promets.
Non mais dis donc, ça va durer longtemps ces petites simagrées? Allez.
Madame, j'y vais.
I wonder if this is dangerous territory, so we're just going to talk about it in a narrative sense, but I'm wondering if she's putting on this active uncomfortability, if she actually feels this, or if she's putting on this persona of assent because it's part of her fantasy.
Alors, il paraît que c'est un début. Là, j'ai le nez, hein, faut pas me raconter des histoires. Si c'est vrai. Ah! Comme ça? Non, mais dis, tu te prends pour qui, espèce de petite salope? Regarde! Les chichis, ça va bien à maman.
See, like that little smile, is this like is this a performance of showing like that she's indulging herself in a fantasy?
Alors, c'est la manière forte qu'il te faut?
You should take off your ring while you're doing this stuff. Okay, whatever you need to do, girl. I mean, they look nice, but...
Tu veux que je fasse venir quelqu'un?
Non, non, c'est rien. Mais vas-y, toi.
Sûrement pas. Je serais beaucoup mieux ici. Et en plus, j'ai du travail en retard.
Dirty South. Here we go.
What do they do if one of those cows just like runs straight into the camera?
Mais oui, la plupart de ceux-là s'appellent remords. Excepté le dernier qui s'appelle expiation.
Tu veux lui dire bonjour?
Avec plaisir. Comment ça va, petite ordure?
Alors, tu vas bien, espèce de traînée?
Vieille roulure.
Fumier.
Et je pourrais compter sur vous tous les jours?
Every day?
Seulement jusqu'à 5 heures.
Bonjour, madame.
She really has no other blondes?
Pourquoi tu es pas revenu plus tôt? J'ai pas pu.
It's a hell of a jacket. It's a hell of a jacket. This is a little bit, I want to say this is just a little bit dry, a little bit clinical for me right now. But I also can't, like, you know, put my head into the space of what this film would be like coming out in 1967. Perhaps there were accommodations that needed to be met to ease an audience into these kind of subjects. And in some ways, perhaps like the clinical depiction is better suited for kind of the lurid or prurient content. I don't know. Just speaking right now out of my own tastes, it is running bone dry. Though this could complicate things. He seems like he likes paraphernalia. Even you know, I didn't love Nymphomaniac, but Nymphomaniac is definitely representative of like the tastes and style of our times, and even that in its presentation was pretty clinical and wished to kind of like divorce itself from the
On ne vous a pas dit. Rhabillez-vous.
indulgences or sexual energy that it was trying to cultivate.
Madame la marquise m'a fait appeler. Madame la marquise n'est pas satisfaite de mon service.
Eh bien,
Sorry. You will be.
non, en effet. Non.
What do you do when two masochists encounter each other?
Madame Anaïs, reprenez-la, elle ne vaut rien. Envoyez-moi Charlotte, vite.
Tout de suite.
She's trying her best. You didn't even communicate. Nobody communicated what they wanted in this situation.
Charlotte? Oui.
Anais should have informed her of
Charlotte, je parle au
what the
professeur.
professor wanted.
Oh, madame, je vais t'habiller.
Entrez ici. Tout de même pas sorcier.
I guess. I don't know.
Entrez.
Madame la marquise m'a fait
The
appeler.
mustache really completes the look.
Hello, I'm your teacher, Mr. Facchiti, and this is my classroom.
Regardez, il y a de la poussière partout.
Duke of Burgundy.
Mais voilà, voilà.
Baby girl.
Pas encore, Charlotte, pas encore, donne-moi ça.
Ah, pardon.
Stopping from the bottom, baby.
Crachez, piétinez-moi la figure.
Spit on me, stomp on my face. You love to hear it.
Saligo, vieux cochon, je zappe.
How do they actually do that? That's crazy.
Alors vous avez bien vu? Qu'est-ce que vous en dites?
Yeah, you're gonna have to make yourself
Descendre
flexible.
aussi bas.
Oh no.
Non, merci, monsieur.
Is there a vibrator in there?
Celle-là.
There's gonna be a vibrator in there. Okay, don't do that. He has he's much more even tan distribution than me. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Is he gonna put a bell into her vagina? I didn't like that.
Moi aussi, cet homme-là, il me ferait peur.
Qu'est-ce que tu en sais,
That's a good reveal. Hopefully somebody saw this when they were really young and formed a good impression on chubby Asian men as a result. These are all very kind of like fantastical encounters. But, you know, as was stated in the first few scenes, men with money who are idle.
Il est riche et oisif. Ce sont ses deux principales maladies.
Can't film. That'll be extra.
Je t'ai apporté des asphodèles.
Asphodel.
Ma fille bien-aimée.
Ew, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, no, no,
Je me
no.
souviens, hier encore, nous avons joué ensemble.
Already has gone much further than anything Lars von Trier did in Nymphomaniac.
Mais ce n'est pas ma faute, je t'aimais trop. Allez au diable avec vos chats!
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. And I won't put dead roses on your grave. So by French standards, were we just like okay with seeing the butt all the time, but nary a breast in sight?
Vous n'êtes pas encore parti, qu'est-ce que vous attendez?
Mais il pleut.
Voulez-vous me foutre le camp, oui? Allez, dehors!
Was he even smoking? What the heck? Was that even lit?
Je regrette seulement que tu ne viennes pas plus souvent. De toi-même.
Do you force her the other times? There's like a very, very complex disconnect between her fantasy life and her outward means of living.
Avec ça?
Qu'est-ce qu'ils font?
Oh, rien.
Venez ici, les enfants. Toutes les trois.
All three, okay.
Players Club. Yes, sir.
Hé, ça va la petite? On peut déjà la chatouiller.
Everybody's after her daughter, and I don't like it.
Ça va?
Ça va bien, et vous?
On fait aller, merci.
Vous nous manquiez beaucoup?
Ah oui. Alors, hein?
She's mine. A lot of interesting exchanges happening in these interactions. I want to say, like, you know, it's the obvious thing that everybody says. It's not a lot of these scenes don't seem to be about sex necessarily, but seem to be about not necessarily power dynamics, but relational dynamics. I don't know how to explain it. About like what lubricates and what stymies interactions. Like money lubricates interactions, but it also like creates a very kind of clinical exchange where you have a direct sense of what product you're gaining from the exchange. And sex plays on like different dynamics where there's expectations, but there's also like surprise and variation.
Non, n'enlève pas tes bas. Il y a une fille qui a essayé de me carotter un jour. La pauvre.
Avec toi, si tu veux, je ne prendrai rien. Regarde ma main. tremble encore. Tu me fais peur.
So he's definitely like meeting like a fantasy of hers of being like a rough and tumble guy and the exact sort of person she's not meant to consort with. He's got a little bit of a Ben Whishaw thing going on. Oh Marcel, oh Marcel. Oh Marcel, give me sweet release.
Tu vas bien?
So a little interesting factoid I picked up in the interim. Many of Deneuve's costumes in this movie were designed by Yves Saint Laurent. A weird connection to this is that I watched Lux Eterna the other day. Obviously, the costumes were not designed by Yves Saint Laurent, but it was produced in collaboration with the house Yves Saint Laurent, and so a lot of the costumes for the women in that movie are from the house. Okay, Marcel, bringing a weird energy into this place. It's a very wry, kind of reserved performance by Deneuve. The movie, I'm sure, in another person's eyes, is like lusty and thrilling and cold and reserved and fiery and explosive. I hate that hole in his sock. Awful.
Ça me fait tellement plaisir de te voir sourire.
Je me sens beaucoup mieux, c'est vrai.
Si seulement...
Quoi?
If only the woodpecker cried.
Mais de quoi parles-tu?
Mais tu le sais bien. Ce que je souhaite par-dessus tout, un enfant.
My guy, way to ruin a good thing.
Bonjour mesdames, asseyez-vous, je vous en prie.
Merci, monsieur. Je vous présente Mathilde, Charlotte et Belle de Jour.
Belle de Jour.
C'est original.
Toujours le même accueil à la bonne franquette.
He's handling this well.
Même rideau.
Calm as a...
Je vais rester seul avec Belle de Jour.
Et quelquefois un peu nerveuse.
I still don't like that they put locks on those doors. Do it, Henri.
C'est votre lit?
Vous me répétez.
Charm her with your wiles.
Oui, c'est mon lit. Ne dites rien à Pierre.
Pierre? Je l'admire de plus en plus.
This movie has evolved into a bromance.
Vous comprenez, ce qui m'attirait en vous, je ne sais pas, c'était sans doute votre vertu. J'ai des principes, moi, je suis pas comme vous.
Oh,
Je ne
man.
dirais rien à Pierre.
Prêt? Partez!
Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.
C'est Marcel. Il y a quelque chose qui cloche là-dedans. Il est devenu exigeant. Il vous veut pour lui tout seul, le jour, la nuit.
You gotta handle your clients better, Missy.
Oui. Vous n'avez pas une adresse discrète?
Non.
Bah, tant pis, qu'est-ce que vous voulez que je vous dise, moi?
Like, the cynical side of me says that she's trying to kindle this relationship well so that she can get her back eventually. But I don't know. I think there's a sincere version of this where she felt a certain kinship to her. Or, why not both? This is why you need a separate exit for the ladies.
Vous le connaissez?
Je ne sais pas.
Mais il dit que c'est urgent.
And his name is John C.
Je te donne 3 jours.
It's all playing out like
Pour une
a
raison, n'importe laquelle.
standard
Je
melodrama.
t'attendrai à l'hôtel du Bois.
Feels like
Rue
I'm
Fromentin.
watching, Miss Warren's Profession or something.
Alors n'aie pas peur. Je vais m'en aller.
But my Tommy gun
Croyez pas,
won't.
mais je commence à te comprendre.
Huh. Wouldn't it be weird if this ended in a similar way to like someone in love? Ooh, that escalated quickly. It's aiming pretty low.
Alors, quoi de neuf?
L'assassin est mort et la police n'y comprend rien. Paraît-il qu'il s'est trompé de cible, ou bien qu'il était fou.
Looking all like Kim Novak in this getup.
Tout le monde demande de tes nouvelles. Tu vas mieux, tu sais? Les yeux surtout. que tu as eu ton accident, je ne rêve plus.
That's interesting.
Je crois que c'est l'heure.
Why is that?
Donner tes goûts.
I'm not sure what she gets out of Pierre, to be honest. It seems like there's a lot of resentment built into their marriage. Duty, but perhaps no warmth. Get a nice shoe shot again. There's dust all over this apartment, Professor. I like this darker tone that they've had for the room, though. Now that their lives have fallen apart and stuff, it's not as clearly lit, not as brightly and harshly lit. Everything's faded a bit. It seems a bit more cerebral.
Pierre.
À quoi penses-tu, Séverine?
Je pensais à toi, Pierre.
Tu entends?
So she heard the bells when they were on the carriage ride, and she also heard the bells in her first sexual encounter with the Asian man. I think that this is a movie that's like very appealing in its depiction of like an intense interior fantasy life and the surreptitious ways in which an individual, this woman Severine, employs to kind of align or coalesce her reality with her fantasy life. It's definitely like a beautiful, stylish movie, and it's titillating in a way that isn't overindulgent. And yet there is kind of like a fascination in seeing this star present this icy woolen character, constantly humiliated and an indulgence in sordidness and denigration. I think for perhaps the 60s audience and maybe further on, it presents a very dangerous fantasy to exist in all of our collective heads. We all have this dangerous fantasy, and to show it is very brazen, but it shows it in a kind of safe enough way to be digestible and enjoyed in kind of a commercial space. So yeah, this was not a slam dunk for me, which is unfortunate, but I can see what people may have gotten out of it. I don't know. Nobody's going to listen to this part. I liked it okay. It wasn't my favorite. So that was Belle de Jour. Yeah, check it out for yourself. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff. Comment down below. What's the next sex-based movie you want me to watch? Sometimes I find sex movies enormously tedious, but there are some, y tu mamá también, that really do it for you. So, and when you find the right one, it fits like a glove. It really meets all of your desires, and when it doesn't, it can feel sometimes like bad sex. Like, you want to like it because, like, how often do you get sex in this life? You should appreciate it when you get it, but you can't shake the lingering feeling afterwards that perhaps you just weren't articulate enough in your needs. I don't know. I'm avalanching here. I'm falling off of the rails. Yeah. Anyways, until next time, keep watching good movies. Bye. Some movies I just don't get my head around. I'm sorry. Bye.